Emma comes from within the perimeter of the M25. She's a student of history and economics and spends her time listening to music and watching good films. Emma Livingston.
Hi everyone. First of all, I'd like to thank you very much for inviting us here today. We've come a long way from home to be here, and before I came out, I was warned many times, it's going to be such a culture shock. It's so different out there. And yeah, when I look out onto the street, the driving's a bit different, and it's not quite exactly London. But yet, we're still here in a room talking about the same ideas and understanding on the same level something that is cross continents. This very nature of this debate happening today proves to us that social networking is not a failure of communication, but facilitates it. And that's what I'm going to go on to prove to you today. I'm going to prove to you how social networking opens channels of communication which would not otherwise exist. And in this manner means it does not constitute a failure, but constitutes a success, actually. Moreover, the implicit premise within Proposition's case is that we have to defend everything that's said on Facebook, everything that's said on Twitter, everything that might be used on LinkedIn. I don't have to defend everything that the name has said. I just have to prove to you that it's not a failure. Because let's be honest, I know this from spending 15 hours getting here with Matt. Not everything you say face-to-face is meaningful either. You can say and name things to each other. So if they're going to take this premise, they also need to defend everything I say to you face-to-face, which frankly is going to be difficult. So for this reason, we say that actually what their burden of proof is frankly wrong, and it falls quite easily onto our side. But first of all, I'm going to come on to you to say why we need to leave this idea of the old quaint way to do it, the way of writing a letter must be better. The idea that to have a full sentence must be more meaningful when an abbreviation, in your mind, you pull out to a full sentence. So therefore, if you get that same level of communication. I'm going to redefine to you. I'm going to elaborate what social networking really does. What it really does, it broadens communication. I automatically communicate with a larger group of people and in a far easier manner. And the charge that social networking stops other communication is frankly an assertion that is false. So, to take this, I'm going to give you an example. If I have something I want to share, an idea, a thought, I've seen something in the news, I haven't done my work, which of course never happens, and I want to quickly find out what it might be, or I just like to comment on a TV program, I could call up a friend, yeah. Or I could post it on my Facebook status. What happens when I post it on my Facebook status? I get a list of comments underneath. If any of these people, I find their comment interesting, I can then go and call them up about it. I can then go and meet them for coffee. I can then go and discuss the intricacies of the recent budget statement with them face-to-face. Because obviously, when I discuss that on Facebook, you can't get the same in-depth conversation, but you open a channel to a far larger group of people to talk about it. Same when you do this on Twitter. When you do this on Twitter, moreover, you talk to people who you'll never get a chance to meet face-to-face. Say, I could tweet any of you in this room who's on Twitter, obviously. I'm not going to get a chance to talk to all of you today, yet I can get an exchange of your ideas automatically through the internet. And to say that that constitutes a failure of communication, frankly, asks us to find our world in narrow terms, where the only social networks we get are those people we meet. Where the only ideas we get are those people we meet. And frankly, being here in a world that's quite different from my own, I want to be able to communicate with you people. I want to be able to get an exchange of ideas across borders, across lines. And I think that's incredibly powerful and incredibly important for us as people to be able to do. So I'm scared almost by the proposition, by the fact that they consider this a failure. And I'm scared of the world that they would like to see if they do not approve of this form of communication. So I'm going to move on to say, they've talked a lot about defining communication. Every time we try and redefine communication in this debate, we're just really asserting what we would like communication to be in order to make our case stronger. Ultimately, however, if we look up, communication is contact with other people. That what this boils down to communication is. Whether or not it's a strong level of deep communication doesn't prevent it from being communication. And in order to get a more nuanced understanding of this debate, we need to accept that there are levels of communication. There's a level where I have a long chat with my mum about everything I do on this trip. There's a level where I put on my Facebook status, I'm going to India. Oh my God, that's so exciting. You know, I'm communicating with both sets of people, but my communication's of a different level. It doesn't make it any less valid. They've yet to prove to us why casual communication is an invalid communication. And until they prove that to us, they cannot win the debate on proposition. So, since we can define the difference between casual and deep communication, we can start to understand what actually happens on the net far more deeply. So I'm going to talk to you about the nature of intimacy of the communication they'd like to see. The problem with this intimacy, there's a lot of people who I am not friendly enough with. There's people who say, having left school, I haven't seen since I left school. That's a shame. I like them. They're very interesting people. But I was not that friendly with them at school, so to meet up with them for a coffee would be a bit weird. It'd be a bit awkward. It would be unusual. So I have to just hope that someone invites me to a party where they're also at. That's a shame. That's a massive shame. Or, I don't know, I can be on Facebook chat and just quick line, hey, how are you? How's university? How's job? What are you doing in your life? Now, we've heard earlier that that's not real communication. We've heard earlier that don't try and tell me that keeping in touch with long-lost friends is done by Facebook. If you really wanted to keep in touch, you would. Unfortunately, you can't do this to everyone. I don't know about you, but I have a physical limit on the amount of time in a day I can spend calling up my friends. I've got 24 hours in my day personally. So I would like to be able to keep in touch with say, 70 of the 100 people I was in a year with at school. I can't do that physically by your old-fashioned communication. I can, however, keep the channel open that in, say, 5 years' time, I have the chance to stay in touch with them because I've caught up every now and again, very briefly, via Facebook. What they fail to understand on Science Proposition, that your social networking doesn't start and end on the net. It may start on the net, but it allows you to talk more in the future. And that is a key way in which you cannot possibly fail communication because it simply opens up new channels in communication with other people. Moreover, I've talked a bit about broadening this out to things like efforts in Haiti and things like that, but also more than that, the sort of communication that the proposition for is too narrow in the sense that they fail to see how one of the key examples of why communication is at its best, at its proudest. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you remember the Arab Spring. Like, this would not have happened with massive change, a chance to see humanity at its best when people communicate with others they don't know and reach out to others. It's been seen very clearly there how social networking allows us to communicate with others, allows us to be greater than ourselves, and in turn constitute one of our proudest moments of communication where we communicate ideas to our leaders and make a better world. So thank you very much. This is why social networking is in no way a failure of communication.
Thank you, Emma. Can we have a question? Yes? Not inappropriately from the University of Cambridge. Yeah, go on. Get to the closest medium of communication.
The time that you spend fostering shallow friendships could be spent communicating with people that you know better, that you care more about, and dare I say, that you love. Why do you value the time spent cultivating shallow relationships more than deepening the meaningful ones?
Ultimately, Richard, I think that's a charge against what you do online rather than a charge against me. If you choose to use social networking in a manner that allows you to ignore your friends, that is your choice. Social networking is not a failure in a sense because it can allow you to deepen the relationships you have with people who you are deep friends. I talk to my mum on Facebook when I'm at university. Are you saying that's a shadow relationship? Are you saying that's a failure of my communication? So Richard, call your mum up later, Facebook her when we get back to the hotel? I don't know. That's your problem, not mine.